Top 10 TV movies from the 90s inspired by real-life murder cases. Welcome back to Odd Occasions, where we explore the chilling tales behind real-life tragedies and the strange events that leave us questioning the world around us. Today, we're diving into a series of gripping TV movies from the 1990s, each inspired by shocking, real-life murder cases. These films may have aired on television, but the stories behind them are as dark and twisted as any Hollywood thriller. From twisted love triangles to jealous rage and unspeakable betrayals, these true crime TV movies gripped audiences and kept them on the edge of their seats. Let's count down the top 10 TV movies from the 90s based on real-life murders. Number 10. Deadly Whispers, 1995. This television movie was inspired on the actual murder of 19-year-old Kathy Bonney on November 21, 1987 in Camden County, North Carolina. The actor Tony Danza, who is best known for his role in the television series Taxi, 1978-1983, played the lead role in this television movie for television. It seems inconceivable to the majority of people that a parent would take the life of their own child. On the other hand, it was determined that Kathy's father, Thomas Lee Bonney, was the one who perpetrated her murder. An altercation quickly broke out between Bonney and her daughter Kathy as they were driving together after looking at a truck that was up for sale. The disagreement was about Kathy's boyfriend. According to Bonney's account of the events, Kathy was the one who initially reached for his gun and shot it, which influenced him to become angry and shoot her a total of 27 times. However, due to the mutilation of her face, her fingerprints were the only means by which she could be identified once her naked body was discovered the following day, abandoned next to a canal. In no way had she been subjected to sexual assault. Thomas Bonney entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, asserting that he suffered from a multiple personality disorder as a consequence of a difficult childhood. He asserted that he was acting under the influence of a malevolent personality known as Demian when he murdered his daughter. In 1988, Bonney was sentenced to death, but he was later commuted to life in prison with the possibility of parole. In 1995, Bonney made an attempt to break out of prison, but he was swiftly discovered and brought back to custody. As of the year 2024, he is currently serving his sentence in a minimum security facility in the state of North Carolina. He is now in his 90s. Number 9. What Happened to Bobby Earl, 1997. This television movie, which is also known as Murder in a College Town, stars Kate Jackson, who was one of the original Charlie's Angels that portrayed the role of Sabrina Duncan in the popular television series that aired in the 1970s. She plays the role of Rose Pratt, who is renamed Rose Earl in the movie. Her real-life name is Rose Pratt. The film is based on the murder that occurred on June 17, 1988, in Akron, Ohio, of Rose's son, Roger Butch Pratt, whose name is altered to Bobby Earl in the film. Rose felt a great deal of pride when her son became the first member of their family to attend college. They were from a working-class background. Almost immediately, he became friends with Edward Eddie Swiger, and the two of them immediately joined a fraternity together. The two young men were employed by an older woman named Linda Carlin on a part-time basis, and it wasn't long before her connection with Eddie became more intimate. Eddie was said to have been the leader in the friendship that he shared with Butch. Eddie allegedly plotted the murder because he was concerned that Butch would implicate him in 2 burglaries and a case of arson. This is according to the police. Butch was kidnapped by Eddie and several other individuals, including his younger brother and Linda Carlin, who committed the act of beating him to death and then burying him in a shallow grave while he was handcuffed. In connection with the murder of Butch, who was only 22 years old at the time of his death, a total of 5 individuals were found guilty of their crimes. As of the year 2024, Eddie Swiger is still incarcerated at Grafton Correctional Institution, where he is serving his life sentence. Number 8. Cries, Unheard, the Donna Yaklich story, 1994. In this made-for-television film, which is also known as Victim of Rage, the actress Jaclyn Smith plays the role of Donna Yaklich, a real-life killer who was convicted of her crime. Kelly Garrett, who was also one of the original Angels, was portrayed by Jaclyn Smith in the legendary television series Charlie's Angels, which aired in the 1970s. The film provides an account of the sequence of events that culminated in Donna Yaklich employing two adolescents to carry out the murder of her claimed abusive spouse. Outside of his residence in Avondale, Arizona, on the evening of December 12, 1985, police investigator Dennis Yaklich was shot and killed. The shooting took place outside of his residence. It was determined that his wife, Donna Yaklich, who was present in the house at the time of the murder, was guilty of second-degree murder because she had hired two young men to carry out the crime. As part of their testimony, the two lads, who were brothers, stated that Donna had informed them that her husband was abusive and that she would pay them $45,000 if they were to kill Dennis. As a result of his passing, she drew the money from a life insurance policy that was worth $250,000. After serving their sentences of 20 and 30 years in prison, the brothers have both been released from their respective prisons. The highest possible sentence for Donna was 40 years in prison. Following the completion of her 21-year sentence, Donna Yaklich was transferred to a halfway house in 2006. Since then, she has been set free to rejoin society in its entirety. Vanessa Yaklich, who is one of Dennis's daughters and the daughter of his first wife, has expressed her opposition to her release and has maintained that her father did not behave abusively with Donna. Number 7. Death in Small Doses, 1995. This movie is based on the death of Nancy Lyon, which occurred on January 14, 1991 in Dallas, Texas, as a result of arsenic poisoning. The conviction for Nancy's murder was handed down to Richard Lyon, Nancy's husband, and he was sentenced to life in prison. At first glance, the Lyons appeared to be a contentedly married, financially secure couple who are parents to two young kids. Nevertheless, all came to an end when Richard started a romantic involvement with a female co-worker at his place of employment. It was in the fall of 1990 when he first moved out of his family home and subsequently filed for divorce. Nancy and Richard made the decision to work on healing their relationship by the time Christmas rolled around in 1990. On the other hand, Nancy was brought to the hospital on January 9, 1991, when she experienced severe symptoms of illness, including bouts of vomiting and diarrhea. Her death occurred on January 14, 1991, shortly after she entered a coma long after that. Her death was determined to have been caused by arsenic poisoning, which was discovered when an autopsy was performed. A bottle of wine was delivered to Nancy's door in September of 1990, during the time that she was going through the process of ending her relationship with Richard. After consuming a little of it, she had a severe illness. Following Richard administered beverages or vitamins to Nancy on a number of occasions in the days preceding up to her passing, she became extremely ill following each of these occurrences. In addition, the authorities found out that Richard had purchased a significant quantity of chemicals, including arsenic, in the weeks leading up to Nancy's passing. In the year 2024, Richard Lyon is still serving his life sentence for the murder of his ex-wife, and he has never admitted to being responsible for the crime. Number 6. Beauty's Revenge, 1991. The principal part in this movie is played by Tracy Gold, who has appeared in more than 20 movies that were produced for television purposes. It is sometimes referred to as Midwest Obsession, and it tells the story of the real-life murder of 21-year-old Lisa Syhaski, who is dubbed Beth in the film. The murder was perpetrated on September 20, 1989 in Marathon County, Wisconsin, by her purported friend Laurie Esker. At the heart of this investigation was a love triangle that was defined by feelings of obsession and jealousy. During their time in high school, Esker and Cichowski were acquainted with one another. However, their friendship deteriorated when both of them began dating Bill Buss, a dairy farmer. For the first 3 years of their partnership, Lisa Cichowski was in a relationship with Bill. After the breakup of their relationship, Bill went on to date Laurie Esker for around 1.5 years. After their romance ended, Buss and Lisa decided to get back together and discuss the possibility of getting married. In the midst of a heated disagreement about Bill that took place in Lisa Cichowski's automobile outside of her place of employment, Laurie Esker committed the act of strangling Lisa Cichowski to death out of jealousy. After being found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide in 1990, Laurie Esker was given a sentence of life in prison for her crime. The 16th of July, 2019, she was freed from prison at the age of 50. Number 5. A Killer Among Friends, 1992. In this television movie, the actress Tiffany Thiessen, who is well known for her role as Kelly Kapowski on Saved by the Bell, 1989-1993, plays the character of Jennifer Monroe, a victim of a murder. The real-life murder of Michelle "Missy" Avila, which took place on October 1, 1985 in Angeles National Forest, that is located in Los Angeles, California, served as the inspiration for the film. Michelle had been childhood friends with Karen Severson. However, their connection became tumultuous when they both moved to high school. It would appear that Severson found himself envious of Michelle's success among her classmates and the lads. When they were all out of the car, Karen Severson and her friend Laura Doyle took Michelle into the Angeles National Forest and accused her of having sexual relations with their boyfriends. This occurred on the night of the murder. After that, the females attacked Michelle and drowned her in water that was only a few feet deep. It was 3 days later when she was discovered lying face down in the water, with a significant portion of her hair ripped out and her face beaten severely. She was weighed down by a log that weighed 100 pounds and was placed on top of her torso. In a chilling turn of events, Doyle sent a condolence letter to Michelle's mother after the murder, and Severson even moved into Michelle's mother's house, appearing to be there for the grieving widow as she went through her suffering. It took 3 years for the two murderers to be apprehended, and they were each given a term ranging from 15 years to life in prison. Although it caused Irene Avila, Michelle's mother, a great deal of distress, Severson was released from prison in 2011, and Doyle was released from prison in 2012. Number 4. Deadly Medicine, 1991. The killings of nurse and serial killer Janine Jones served as the inspiration for the television adaptation of Deadly Medicine, 1988, which was a New York Times bestseller for 7 weeks. The adaptation was made for television in 1991. L.A. Law, 1986-1994, star Susan Rutten, who portrays the role of the convicted killer in this film. During the latter half of the 1970s and the early 1980s, Jones was employed as a nurse in the cities of San Antonio and Kerr County. There is a possibility that she was responsible for the deaths of as many as 60 infants. However, the exact number of deaths is unknown. Jones, who was 34 years old at the time, was initially sentenced to 99 years in prison in 1984 for the murder of Chelsea Ann McClellan, who was 15 months old. It is said that crucial evidence for the other murders was destroyed in a cover-up that took place at the hospital. Regardless of this, the families of the other victims were of the understanding belief that the 99-year sentence would at the very least keep her incarcerated for the rest of her life. Petty McClellan, Chelsea's mother, said that she was devastated by the fact that Jones may have been freed from jail in 2018 owing to overcrowding. This was due to a legislative loophole that allowed for this possibility. It is a great relief that the investigation was reopened and Janine Jones was found guilty of the murder of Joshua Sawyer, an infant, on December 12, 1981. She was sentenced to life in prison in the year 2020. It is not until the year 2028, when she will be 87 years old, that she will be eligible for parole. There is no indication that Jones, who is 73 years old, has been released from the Lane Murray Unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice as of the year 2024. Number 3. Lies of the Heart, The Laurie Kellogg Story, 1994. Jenny Garth, who is famous all over the world for her role as Kelly Taylor on the television series Beverly Hills 90210, 1990-2000, appeared in this film that was developed specifically for television. Garth is a representation of the real-world Laurie Kellogg, who was found guilty of second-degree murder and multiple other crimes in connection with the death of her husband on June 9, 1991 in Seneca County, New York. At the time of her conviction, she was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. When the event occurred, Kellogg was 26 years old, and she was married to Malcolm Bruce Kellogg, who was 43 years old. Denver A. McDowell, a teenager who lived nearby, admitted to killing Bruce Kellogg and said that Laurie Kellogg had coerced him into killing her husband by wooing him and telling him that Bruce was cruel to her. McDowell also claimed that Laurie Kellogg had encouraged him to kill Bruce Kellogg. In connection with the homicide, Kellogg was charged alongside a total of 4 other adolescents. Due to charges of drug usage, as well as allegations of physical and sexual assault, the trial received a lot of attention from the media at the time. The release of Laurie Kellogg from jail on April 8, 2019, at the age of 54, caused McDowell to feel a great deal of resentment. On October 15, 2019, shooter Denver A. McDowell, who is now 51 years old, was granted release. Number 2. No One Would Tell, 1996. The savage murder of Amy Carnevale served as the inspiration for this made-for-television movie, despite the fact that their names have been changed for the time being. Stacey Collins, the renamed version of the slain adolescent, is played by Candace Cameron Bure, who is best known for her role as DJ Fuller on the television show Full House, 1987-1995. After tempting his lover, Amy Carnevale, who was just 14 years old at the time, to visit him at his house in Beverly, Massachusetts, Jamie Fuller, who was 16 years old at the time, murdered her on August 23, 1991. He then stabbed her to death after leading her into the woods there. The moment she yelled, "Why are you acting in such a manner?" instead of saying, "I love you," he responded by stomping on her head. After she had passed away, Fuller and a few of his pals weighed down her body and then threw it into a pond. A few days later, one of these pals was the one who brought the police to the body of Carnevale. Due to the fact that Fuller was tried as an adult, the defense argued that the fact that he had used steroids and consumed large amounts of alcohol meant that he was not criminally responsible for the murder. The prosecution, on the other hand, contended that Fuller was a jealous boyfriend who was responsible for perpetrating the murder. In 1992, he was given a sentence of life in jail without the possibility of parole. Fuller, who is now in his late 40s, is still being held at Mobile Correctional Institution Shirley, in Shirley, Massachusetts, as of the year 2023. Number 1. Black Widow Murders, The Blanche Taylor Moore Story, 1993. This made-for-television film stars the late Elizabeth Montgomery, who won an Emmy for her performance as Samantha Stevens, a witch, on the long-running and cherished television series Bewitched, 1964-1972. Montgomery is best known for she played the character of Samantha Stevens. Blanche Taylor Moore, who was portrayed by Montgomery, is the one who was responsible for the death of Raymond Carlton Reed, her boyfriend, in 1986 by poisoning him with arsenic. This crime resulted in her being sentenced to death on November 16, 1990, when she was 57 years old. Nevertheless, it is also thought that she is responsible for the death of her first husband, James Taylor, who passed away in 1973 from what is believed to have been a heart attack death. After the body was exhumed, it was discovered that it contained a significant amount of arsenic. Moore was not probed until her third husband, Reverend Dwight Moore, was brought to the hospital in 1989 after being gravely ill as a result of swallowing a chicken sandwich that was given to him by his wife. Upon examination of the blood, extraordinarily high quantities of arsenic were found. Despite the odds, Reverend Dwight Moore managed to survive. In addition, Blanche Taylor Moore is suspected of being involved in a number of other deaths and cases of arsenic poisoning that occurred beginning in 1966. Blanche Taylor Moore, who is now 91 years old, is still awaiting execution at the North Carolina Correctional Institution for women on the death row as of the year 2024. Thanks for joining us on Odd Occasions, where we uncover the truth behind some of the most haunting stories ever told. If you enjoyed this deep dive into 90s true crime TV movies, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future episodes. Do you have a favorite true crime story or film you want us to explore? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, truth is often stranger than fiction.